How's it going, Giants fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. Got the fresh cut talking about Freddie Kitchens. Not the best time to have a fresh cut and talk about a former coach, but I'll tell you what, had some interesting things to say about Daniel Jones and specifically about some factors that have impacted him negatively in the past and what he's going to have to correct moving forward. Obviously, Giants declined that fifth-year option. This is a big year for DJ. If he doesn't really meet those expectations, they can easily move on. Management does not have there's really no expectation of loyalty towards Daniel Jones simply because he was not drafted by Joe Schoen. He was not drafted by Brian Dable. He was a Dave Gettleman draft pick in 2019 years ago. They could easily go on to reset this rookie window and just go with their own guy and develop their own guy who they like tangibly and intangibly. But, there's a lot of time for DJ to really prove himself. And I think that one of the main factors for him is going to be health, which Freddie Kitchens hits on. So I'll kind of deliver you guys some quotes and some interesting information that Kitchens had to say about Daniel. Before we do so, Anthony, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's been a real up and down career for Daniel Jones. Of course, he did have some high highs during his rookie season, that comeback victory versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in his first career start. During the preseason, he looked like the best rookie quarterback in that draft class. And you could argue that he's been right up there with them. I mean, minus Kyler Murray, other quarterbacks drafted in the middle rounds of that draft. I mean, they definitely haven't had the career success that Daniel Jones has had. Not saying he's had a ton of success, but he has had some success at some points. But he's also had a lot of low points, right? There's been a lot of moments where, 8 weeks in a row with a fumble lost? Like, he's had a lot of turnover problems, and mainly he's had a lot of injury problems. He has not started a full season yet, and he's played 3 seasons as a starter. He's missed time with injury in each of those seasons, which is a great cause for concern. And the fact that he hasn't had that breakout season yet after 3 seasons is also another cause for concern. It's the reason that the Giants didn't pick up his fifth-year option. But there is still a lot to like about Daniel Jones, and there is reason to believe that he could turn it around and prove himself in year 4. And we're super excited to discuss that and maybe, hopefully, see him have that breakout season in 2022.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there like, I hope he fails because then we can reset this rookie window and, we can get a new quarterback and kind of just go with the guy that management wants. But everything people say about Daniel Jones is positive. Everybody but the fans, obviously. Golden Tate said recently, he has all the tangible traits. He's got a good arm. He can move. And Freddie Kitchens kind of mirrored those things. Specifically, what he said was, I think Daniel began to understand the importance of staying healthy. It was just an unfortunate deal, but I do think Daniel's grown a lot from that aspect of things and understands that he kind of carries the team on his back as far as their future, because he wouldn't be starting unless he was the best chance to win. He started to understand that better. I think early on, you're out there for the team. You want to do what's best for the team and all those sorts of things. And you kind of get carried away at times, but he's gotten a better grasp of that. And I think, and I know he's moving forward. So, what this tells me is that Daniel Jones, and we know this, right? We've know that he's tried to do too much at times. One of the main ones that people always hit on him for is that he dives headfirst into tackles, right? He has great mobility, great straight line speed. We've seen him on the move. The guy is fast as hell. They call him Vanilla Vic for a reason. So, this is a guy who, when utilizing his attributes, positively, can make a really great impact on the game. But he was trying to put too much pressure on himself because, guys around him are getting injured. Saquon's injured. Kenny Galladay's injured. Kadarius Toney's injured. Evan Ingram's injured. Andrew Thomas is dealing with an ankle thing. He has Nate Solder at right tackle, for goodness sakes. Everything is falling apart around him. And he's like, what can I do here? I can't trust Colin Johnson to be my primary guy. I can't trust David Sills to be my primary receiver. These guys just aren't good enough to be number 1, number 2 receivers in the NFL, unfortunately. And I think Daniel started to kind of learn that if he is not healthy, they don't stand a chance. Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm, holy hell, did they look terrible. That one game against Dallas where Kadarius Toney had 189 yards, that was not Mike Glennon's doing. That was Kadarius Toney making everything happen. Daniel Jones is capable of elevating an offense. He just needs to stay healthy, and they need to actually put together a unit that's going to execute properly. So what are your takeaways from this? Do you think that the health is a big thing for Daniel Jones? He has had the hamstring issue. He has had the neck issue. He got knocked out of the season in week 11 against Philadelphia, the concussion against the Dallas Cowboys in week 5, where he's foaming out the mouth like he just got rabies. What exactly is your thoughts on this? Because I think that Freddie Kitchens actually does have a pretty decent point here.
He does have a good point. And one of the things that I'll say, you mentioned it, anytime we hear, a former teammate, a current teammate, a former coach, current coach, anybody, they always rant and rave about Daniel Jones. They all love him, especially as a person, not only as a football player. They think he's got great potential as a football player, but they really appreciate his character qualities as a person off the field. And that's something that we can all kind of agree on, right? Like, he is a good guy. He is committed to the sport, committed to being the Giants franchise quarterback. He's a player that you want to root for. He doesn't have an ego. He's not annoying on social media, nothing like that. He's just a good guy that you want to see succeed. Eli Manning as well. He has similar qualities to what Eli Manning had in terms of his demeanor. And Eli Manning has talked about that and talked about Daniel Jones, how he's tried to mentor him and how he does remind him of himself and how he is one of those guys that you root for. But it makes it so difficult to root for Daniel Jones when A, he's getting injured, B, he's turning the ball over, C, he's playing with the worst offensive playmaker group possible because everybody's on injured reserve by week 5. It's really hard to root for Daniel Jones in a situation like that. Number one thing, the playmakers need to stay healthy. Second thing, Daniel Jones does need to stay healthy. It's so strange because you think back to all those years with Eli Manning, never missing a game with injury. Then we transition to a new quarterback, the new era of New York Giants football. Every year our quarterback is missing games. It's a really harsh wake-up call. It's a rude reality for Giants fans to return to after over a decade and a half of phenomenal Eli Manning durability. It's kind of tough to go to Daniel Jones' paper-thin durability, right? And he's missing games with injury. It's almost like shocking that we had a quarterback have a season-ending injury. When was the last time that happened to the New York Giants? Think about that. That's insane to me. So Daniel Jones does need to stay healthy. One of the best abilities is durability, right? We've heard that phrase so many times. It's so important for Daniel Jones to be in the lineup. If he wants to be the franchise quarterback, be the guy that the team relies on to push them into the playoffs, push them deep into the playoffs, and hoist the Lombardi trophy, he absolutely does need to stay healthy. He needs to be more durable. He needs to protect his body better, not run into too much trouble and put his head down and try to absorb contact. Dude, just slide. Live to see another down. Play for third down. Play for fourth down even if you have to in a clutch situation. Don't go run out there and play so that that's your last play of the game. That's the real thing that Daniel Jones needs to learn. I think he will learn it. Freddie Kitchens absolutely does have a point in that regard. But also, I will make a point. Freddie Kitchens did not do Daniel Jones many favors. Neither did Jason Garrett. Nobody on that coaching staff. Daniel Jones was asked to do a whole lot more than he was comfortable doing. He did push himself into risky situations and risk injuries because he was trying to do something with a bland, stale offensive scheme filled with practice squad level players because we had so many players on injury. So Daniel Jones, absolutely, he has room for improvement and he needs to stay healthy. But you know what? I think the catalyst to success this season will be a better coaching staff working with Daniel Jones.
Well, yeah, you can say that again. Brian Dable and Mike Kafka are head and shoulders above, Jason Garrett and Freddie Kitchens and anybody else the offensive staff has had over the last couple of years. But the other pinnacle on the Giants offense is Saquon Barkley, I found this interesting, Stumbled across an article from, let's see, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. And apparently an NFL offensive coach told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler that Saquon kind of sucks. And basically he said was he still doesn't know how to play running back enough 4 years into his career. He said he's a bouncer. He wants every run to be a home run. He's going to have to learn that 4-yard runs in the league are good instead of stopping, cutting it back, and losing to when he gets his ass kicked in protection. I honestly don't think he's that wrong, to be quite frank. He kind of rips him, says he doesn't know how to play running back enough, and I have to agree in some facets, but I will also throw this in there. I don't think the guy's trusted his knee in 2 years. You know what I mean? I don't think he's trusted his ankle in 2 years. Like there are a couple of factors here where like churning out yards with guys on your back and you're trying to pick up that weight. Like I don't think he trusts his legs yet. Pass protection, that's a huge concern for Saquon Barkley. He's never been a good pass protector, and the Giants have been liabilities in that section because of that issue of his. He has so much power and quickness. I don't really understand how he isn't a better pass protector, but like that's something he's got to improve upon. But I do think that like he said he is back to full health. I do think that this should lead to better runs in terms of just churning out a little bit more yardage and being tougher at that point of attack. He's been trying to get so bouncy all these years. I would really like to see him just put his shoulders down, put his head down, and just churn out 4 or 5 yards. He's got the power, man. Like he's got that physicality. He can do it. Like you don't always have to bounce them. Like how many times have we seen him get like a shotgun, like a draw, and then he'll like stop and then hesitate and then cut left and then realize that your left tackle's already been beat And then bam, he jumps to the right side, and right tackle's already been beat, and then he just ends up like kind of stalling and getting dropped in the backfield for 4 yards. Like we've seen that over and over and over again during his career. I would love to see him like on design plays like that, just go up the gut, pick up 3-4 yards. That's now you're at 2nd and 7 instead of 1st and 13. And you're pretty much, if you're the Giants offense, 1st and 13 is a death wish. You're punting, no hands down, like no hands. Like, you're definitely punting on 1st and 13, but 2nd and 7, at least we have a shot. You know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts about this? These quotes, from this, anonymous NFL coach about Saquon Barkley and kind of like what he has been unable to do so far.
Saquon Barkley's rushing style has been a topic of debate since Penn State. He has always been a runner that refuses to take the ugly yardage. And you know what? To his credit, in 2019, his sophomore season, he was dealing with some injuries, but he improved significantly in this facet. Year one, he was phenomenal. He was just an electric running back, but he also had a better offensive scheme with Pat Shurmur, and he had some better run blocking actually in 2018 than he did in 2019 and so on. And Saquon Barkley did bounce out a lot in 2018, but he was also just playing at another level, breaking every tackle possible, bouncing out rushes that you think are going to end up being -2 yards, and he ends up taking it 50 yards to the house, right? Like, that is the ability that he had as a rookie, but he has always been a bouncer, as this coach quotes. He's been a bouncer since Penn State. That was definitely a criticism of him coming out. I know he was a generational perfect running back prospect, but people did say he does bounce runs. He doesn't take ugly yardage often. He has the ability to hit the home run, but we'd like to see him pass up on the home run opportunity to just get some yardage more often. And that is something I think he did a good job with in his second season. But since then, he's dealt with a plethora of injuries. Year 3, he was injured. Year 4, I mean, there's just been so much going on for Saquon Barkley in terms of injuries, in terms of different, coaching staff changes and poor rushing schemes, and of course, really bad blocking. The problem with Saquon is he wants to be the hero, and he has the ability to be the hero, but sometimes he plays a little too hard into that ability. For example, when the Giants offensive line is just playing a terrible game, right? And they're just not picking up any blocks in the running game, he gets frustrated. He decides, I need to try to make something happen. So instead of just being patient and running into these terrible rushing lanes that the Giants offensive line is failing to create for him, he bounces it outside and he tries to make a home run. But because it's just all eyes on Saquon, it just looks bad. And I understand where he's coming from. He's just trying to make a play. There's nothing good going for the Giants offense. He wants to be the hero, but sometimes he really just needs to take the back seat and just go with the flow. And that's going to be his number one thing this upcoming season. First of all, it'll help him stay healthier if he stops trying to bounce things outside and be the hero, put the team on his back. He'll be healthier. And second of all, he'll get more of that ugly yardage. It won't be a 2nd and 13. It will be a 2nd and 7. And 2nd and 7 is much more manageable than 2nd and 13. And that's something that the Giants really need to emphasize with Saquon Barkley. And I do think that he will get more ugly yards this season. But I really think the number one thing, we just talked about with Daniel Jones, number one thing for Saquon Barkley, you have to stay healthy. That's his number one thing above all else. We can talk about his rushing style after the fact. Staying healthy is the primary goal for Saquon Barkley.
Honestly, it's the primary goal for like half the Giants offense. Let's be real. But in better news, offensive tackle Andrew Thomas had some awesome things to say today. Rehab is coming along pretty well. I'm doing everything the trainers are asking me to do. Definitely moving a lot better, and I'm prepared to be ready for training camp. Yes, thank God. Oh my goodness. How many times have we had players miss training camp and come back during spring training or regular season, or rather, preseason and then regular season, like they're so far behind, and it's just like they're not playing for 3 weeks. This is what happened to Kadarius Toney. Like, thank goodness Andrew Thomas is doing a lot better and he's looking good. So that's at least one positive sign for this Giants offense that was utilizing Josh Ezeudu during voluntary and involuntary minicamp. So definitely a good sign that Andrew Thomas is back and nearly fully healthy, my friends. Would love to hear your perspectives below on Freddie Kitchens' comments. The Saquon Barkley ripping. I don't necessarily disagree with the coach. I do think that he has a lot more left to be desired. I think Saquon can return to that 2018 form, but it's gonna take a village, man. Like he's gotta also take what the defense is giving him. Like he can't always be going for the home run. He'll be a far more effective running back if he just churns those 3-4 yards out and has the occasional big run. Like ultimately it's either a big run. Like I'd say the big run probability is like 5%. Right? Out of 100 rushing attempts, maybe 5 of them are big rushing, ones downfield, maybe 10 maximum. So you're talking about like 90% of these snaps at most are ending up probably with less yardage than you'd have if he was actually turning out a little bit more, yards just by being a little bit more aggressive and putting his head down and turning him out. So interesting takes here. Love to hear your perspectives below, my friends, below on the YouTube comments. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. We'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.